Welcome to the KYP Podcast, a show about letting go of things that prevents you from reaching your dreams and being yourself unapologetically. My name's Danny. I'm here with my co-host,
KYP James.
Kevin G.
And today we have a brand new topic that we want to talk about that we haven't talked about in other episodes. And I think it's just basically being independent, aka the song. Three main topics that we want to hop on is number one, what is family values like in an Asian household, because Asians are so particular about their younglings leaving the house. Number two is how do we decide to leave our nest? And number three, Teddy's actually wanting Jay's attention. What was number three, guys?
What does it mean to be independent?
Exactly. And so I'll jump straight forward to it. I mean, I think Asians in general, what do you guys think when it comes to like the Asian household? Because I have a lot of friends on my side who, when they grow up, they want to have a house and live with their kids, wife, and then the parents is like, you guys can take care of them. They throw the parents to, how do you say it? Retirement home. They visit them once in a while. But I am a firm believer that when I have a house and I live with a family, I do want to have my parents live with me.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a very kind of traditional setup, because I know for Chinese households back in China, the family structure is usually, when the kid goes out, gets married, has kids, the idea is that they bring their parents too, like the grandparents are in the house, and it's one big family, maybe cousins and uncles. They all kind of support each other. If they're not in the same house, then they're all very close and they interact all the time. That's kind of the traditional, at least for I think most Asian cultures are like that, right?
In Korean culture, it's you would have to once you get married, you move out of the house.
You move out.
Unless the grandparent is sick or living alone, we don't typically live with our parents.
But what? So maybe it's not like physically they live together, but I understand in Korean culture, like respecting your elders is a huge thing, right?
Yeah, respecting your elders is like to get married, have a job, have kids, have your own house. That's our way of showing respect to our parents, so that they could tell their friends that, oh, my kid's doing good, But I don't know. Have you lived with your grandparents?
I haven't, but my immediate family is the only one that kind of moved out to Canada.
Gotcha.
My family situation back home, like most my cousins, my uncles, aunts, all my extended family is still in China, and they're very close. I think before my grandparents passed, like my uncles and aunts, they would live in the same house.
Same house?
Yeah, they would live
That's
in
interesting.
the same house.
Yeah.
Take care of the grandparents. Oh yeah, so maybe I think it's a later stage in life thing. So they do
Depends
move
how old.
out, they have their own family, and then instead of a retirement home, the tradition is the kids take care of the grandparents.
Honestly, I think it could be case by case, but for my family, because my grandfather passed away a couple of years ago, but my grandma's still alive. And she's in a studio apartment right now in NDG, living alone. Yeah. She's very independent. She takes the bus. She used to live somewhere called Chateauguay. So it's like an hour away from downtown. And she used to just take the bus, go downtown, do whatever shopping. She's very independent.
One thing I've noticed is, I haven't lived with my grandma either. My grandma actually has her home. But then one thing I've noticed is not taking care of your elders, but mostly taking care of your siblings. Like my mom's sisters and uncles, they live together under the same roof because they came from Vietnam, and then they had to take care of one another, so they just live in a duplex and they just help each other out, and they live. They don't worry about anything. Also, I noticed that my dad, when he wanted to get a property beside like our home, he said, "Hey, Danny, you should get a property, live with your sister, and help each other out." So maybe in the Viet culture, it might be different, where it's not about, hey, like take care of your parents, but mostly take care of one another, because you have nobody else in this world beside each other.
Well, what if you had a wife though?
I think it would still be the same. I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that also has to do with, a lot of the Asian people who live here, immigrated here, right? So they don't know anybody. They have to rely on family to get started. But what if I put it this way? Do you guys agree that in general, Asian kids growing up in Canada or North America, would you agree that Asian kids tend to leave the nest at an older age compared to Western kids?
Definitely. I don't think I've heard very many Asian people that said, like, yeah, my parents kicked me out when I was 18. As soon as I got a job.
Very few Asian families.
Very few. And there's a stereotype, where, oh, he lives in his mom's basement. He's a loser. He doesn't do anything.
That's every Asian kid.
That's like every Asian kid.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this kid, he lives, you'd see Mike on like Call of Duty or something, like, fuck you, you live in your mom's basement, you can't do anything. But then we look at the Asian kid who's living in his mom's basement.
Saving money.
You're saving money. You're doing something. Your mom cooks you food. Yeah. You don't have to worry about a lot of things. You just have to focus on studying, making money. And then once you have a lot of money, you help your mom pay the mortgage. You help your dad and mom pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
You raise your family.
Yeah.
It's like a win-win situation.
Yeah. It's more of a kind of collective mindset towards raising your kids.
Is that in your 20s though, or what if we're in our 30s?
Ooh, okay. That's I don't know. That's a weird situation.
So is it an age thing? Like 20 is the new like.
I think it's like ultimately the Asian household is the same. Ultimately, the goal is to get you independent at one point.
Yeah.
But I think they focus on building more of a safety net for you.
So one thing I've noticed is it's not about, move out and live your life. A lot of times when, let's say you're 30, 35 and you're still living with your parents and you get hounded to leave the house, it's not leave the house and do whatever you want by yourself. It's leave the house and find a wife. Like you've noticed in a lot of situations when people are a lot older and still live with their parents, it's not like, hey, you're a loser, go find your life. But it's more like, hey, you're single, you need to build a family because you're at the age of building family. So leave the house so you can build a family. Don't live in the basement.
And don't you love how Asian parents switch up so quick? I think as guys we still feel that, but it's so much on the girl side where it's like from 14 to 25 is like no boys ever, and then as soon as you hit 26 it's like you still don't have a boyfriend? When am I getting my grandchildren?
And then by 27 it's like, why don't I have any kids?
Yeah, exactly.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Okay, quick tangent. Have your parents ever tried to hook you up with like a family, like a daughter of a family friend?
Oh, bro. Not me, though, but my brother, man. Yo, my parents tried so hard. Multiple girls, because the Korean community is very small. So, and there's always that one daughter that's single as well. And my brother's been single for, I don't know how long, but it's been a while. And they've been trying to hook him up tons of times. Even when they went to Toronto last week to see my brother, they met a girl. They met a friend, and then we got a daughter. We know a daughter that that's single that they should probably meet up. Like, I don't know how my
Was your brother receptive to it?
Yeah, bro. He there was one from Hong Kong that my girlfriend tried to hook up. So she's from Hong Kong. She's like a good church girl, Korean, and they were doing long distance for a while. That didn't work out, and then there was another one. He had said something to her on text, like he was just joking, like just like flirting around, I guess. And she got totally turned off, and like she like like she ignored him. She's like, I don't think that's funny. Like it went really like the other side. But yeah, it's risky. It's risky, but it's a lot easier. It's like matchmaking, right?
So when I was younger, I would hear that concept and be like, I would never be able to do that. That's so dumb, you know. But now that I'm a bit older, you know, I'm on the later half of 20. I see the appeal. Like that would make my life so much easier than going on these dates with these city girls all the time. Like it's a freaking headache.
It'd save you a lot of money.
But I wanted to bring that up because that's the one downside I would hate is if I fuck it up or, you know,
the whole family knows.
The whole family knows. Everybody's in the
whole
business.
community knows.
Yeah. So that's the one thing. And I feel like that's kind of hinting on what we're talking about here, which is like in Asian families, the concept of being individual, like individualism is a lot less prioritized for our cultures.
Yeah.
Generally, it's 100%. More of a collective community culture, you know, comes from the kind of village lifestyle where everybody depends on each other. Whereas here, you know, it's been in Western cultures, it's been developed for longer. And
it's so true, bro. Like and
the nuclear family is king out here.
It's so true.
It's just your parents and the kids.
Now that you say that, it's like when at church, now that I'm like, I see everybody growing up, having kids, bro, they all date each other.
Yeah.
Like they have all kids. Like anyone that's like Korean from Korea that came to Montreal, that went to that church, they're all dating each other. They have kids now because they're like from Asia, right? They're not born here.
Yeah.
So, and then like the second gens like me and like us, totally different.
Yeah,
experience.
we have more of a desire to figure it out on our own, right? And I think that's maybe why we, you know, second generation kids like us who has that kind of independent fire, like that desire to be independent, we often end up causing friction in our families because traditionally
we're so weird to them.
Yeah. Especially, you know, being the youngest sibling, my brother kind of followed the path. Of course, you know, he bumped up against it here and there, but overall he's done everything.
You check the boxes.
Every box my parents put out there, and then, you know, I tried my best, but ultimately I
you
wanted to make my own B minus. Ultimately I wanted to make my own boxes, my own decisions, and, you know, live with my own consequences. And so
we weren't scared of the consequences.
I weren't scared of the consequences. It was almost like, you know, obviously it hasn't all been rainbows and butterflies over the last 2 years.
We had it tough for sure.
We had it tough
in a different way.
For me, the way I was perceiving that is even the negative side of my decision, you know, when I was struggling at the beginning, you know, trying to start my new career, to start the podcast. When the consequences came up, you know, the challenges, it was kind of like, yeah, this sucks, but this is sick because it's my own decision. So I have to live with it.
That's interesting.
I feel like because of that, I'm more resilient to the challenges and obstacles.
That's so interesting because the theme between independence, like the recurring theme or what it relates is control. Because we're the second gen, we're second child, we feel like we have more control of our own lives compared to our older sibling, right?
Whether it's good or bad, right?
Yeah. So I think control and independence relate together. It's definitely correlated, right?
I needed that a lot because before I was independent, when things would go wrong, I had this habit of blaming everything else on, on everything else. It's the school's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's, this isn't right for me or whatever.
Yeah.
But now when shit goes bad, it's like, it's my own fault. It's tough, but this is what I asked for, so I got to figure it out. But that's a perfect segue to, why I wanted to leave, right? Because I felt like having that mindset was really having a negative effect on me and the outcomes in my life. And at first I thought it was my problem, which, partly it was, but I feel like I couldn't make any progress staying at home.
Did you? But like when you were in university, you did move out for a while. Was that like, how were you supported there? Were you working? Right. How was that like compared to now?
So that's interesting because technically I was independent in the sense that I lived in my own apartment.
Yeah.
But practically I was not. You know,
so dad was paying
my
for the
parents
rent?
paid for the rent. I was still in school. You know, I would have part-time jobs during the summer just to kind of get pocket change, but my living was paid for as well. I had like a little bit of an allowance.
Just studying and fucking around.
Just studying and fucking around, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't really call that independence.
You had a bit of a taste though.
A bit of a taste, but I was, you know, I was still relying on my parents. You know, I would go back all the time.
Of course, yeah.
I would say in the last 2 years is the time when I was fully independent. You know, I pay my own rent, I pay my own bills. You know, I choose my own job, choose my own career. And so why I left the nest is because, you know, it wasn't working for me. Like mentally, physically, it wasn't working for me.
This was COVID?
COVID.
Oh, you moved out to go to Toronto though, right?
To go to Toronto.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to leaving your nest too, right? Like we mentioned it earlier, that we know the consequences of a lot of things because we've gotten beaten to shit. So we know that whatever we do, we know that there are consequences to it. Now, what's different about a lot of Asian people is the people who decide to leave their nest is not because they're afraid of the consequences, is because if I'm going to get my ass whooped regardless, at least I go out on my own terms.
So is that your experience?
That was your experience?
I think I feel like it's a lot of people's
You moved
experience.
You moved out recently, right?
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think in general, a lot of Asian people who decide to do like their own things is that like, oh God, I'm tired of my parents like telling me this, telling me that. Like,
oh yeah.
I know that I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want my parents to nag me constantly. I don't want to be reminded how much money I make. I don't want to be reminded how much useless piece of shit I am. So I'm going to just move out because if I'm going to fail, at least I'm going to fail by myself. But I know that I can fall back with my parents.
Yeah.
So for me, it was constantly going back and forth with my dad, right? Like I'd be in the car, and since I lived in Laval, and for everyone who doesn't know what Laval is, it's basically 30 kilometers outside of the island of Montreal.
Yeah.
So to get to the nearest train station to get into the island of Montreal, it's a good highway and a half. And during that highway and a half, you get very interesting conversation with my dad. And everything revolves around, let's say, oh, you're doing well in your photography, so how much do you make? Or, oh, so I heard that you got new equipment, right? Like looks interesting. You do a lot of things on social media, but how much you make though?
Yeah.
And it's always that conversation, and it hits, especially after a long night, right? You work really hard, wake up at 8, you get home at like 1 a.m, and you're like exhausted. And then my dad just hits me with, so how much you make today? I'm like, Dad, it's not about how much I made today. It's about how much I can make in the future, right?
Yeah.
Like building my future.
Yeah.
Because their view about...
They had to make it that day.
Yeah, exactly. Either make it that day or you work on an hourly basis.
Yeah.
So if you take your salary divided by every hours, blah, blah, you get an hourly rate.
Yeah.
In his mind, it says, if you're not making this by hour, you're not making it.
Yeah.
But you have certain people that probably don't make any money the entire month, and they have one day where they make 20 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really value consistency
Over
stability,
over like
high risk, high reward.
Risk. Yeah, exactly.
It's because they risk so much to come over here, right?
Exactly.
You know, I may have had a different opinion when I was younger, but now with the kind of clarity I have today, I realize a lot of, you know, why Asian parents do that, especially if their kids are pursuing a creative path or, you know, a unconventional path, is that that's how they show they care. You know, Asian parents are not very emotional or vocal in showing their love, but they do it through being very hands-on on their kids to, you know, yeah, it's for them to be stressed. Think about it. Like, these homies are their own person, right? But they're spending their time being stressed out about you. You know, hey, can you feed yourself? Hey, are you okay? Is it going well? You know, do we have to worry about that? Obviously, they're not able to say it like this. So instead, they're like, hey, daddy, how much you make? Huh? How much you make? Same thing with Mando. She was talking, right? But that's all we
understand.
Yeah, now that I have the separation, I understand it's all love. But when I was in the house, still in the nest, it was just, it was not good for me.
Also, one thing I've noticed is, beside the fact of your parents nagging at you, you also had that guilt. Like, Asian parents are so fucking good at gaslighting you in anything you do, right? My dad was the perfect person where he said, you know, if ever anything happens outside and you are drunk, you need help going home, call me. I will always pick up the phone for you and I will always drive you home. So I never got fucked up outside because I felt bad for my dad waking up at 3 a.m, picking my dumbass up.
Guilt trip you?
Yeah, but not even.
That's 200 IQ.
Not even.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even make me feel bad. He was like, see, like, I'm here for you.
He opened his arms and
He
you didn't
opened
want to
his
take
arms
advantage.
and he's like, I'm always here for you. Call me whenever you need your help. So because of that act of kindness, it makes you feel even worse.
You have to
you don't want to
reciprocate,
go there. Yeah.
And I think that's also one of the points why I moved out a lot, because I lived outside the island, constantly having to go back home and relying on my parents to pick me up, drive me back to the metro in the morning. Because whenever I missed the bus in the morning, right?
It's like 30-minute wait after.
It's an hour wait.
An hour, damn.
Yeah, so I would miss all my classes, and or if I had a shoot, right? I'm like on crunch time.
What classes, bro?
Oh yeah. Before I dropped out, but after I dropped out, it was mostly shoots,
yes.
right? I had to be at this place at 3 o'clock, so then I had to leave my place at 1 or noon to be sure to be downtown by 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have that reliance onto my parents, where it's like, hey,
A burden, right?
A burden.
Yeah.
Or let's say on a Saturday, I would hang out downtown with my friends, and then by 6 o'clock, I'm like, yeah, I'm done downtown. I don't want to stay and drink with people, so let's go home. And I'd call my dad. I was like, hey, can you pick me up at the metro? He was like, Danny, I'm with my friends at a party. I can't pick you up.
Yeah.
So then I would have to find my way back home.
Yeah.
Look through my pockets, find like $3.50 to like put in the bus. I get home and then I look and I'm like, oh shit, usually my dad opens the door for me. So I don't have my keys on me.
Oh shit.
So then I'd have to jump over my fence and then like open my window from the other side and stick my hand in.
That's some struggle right there.
So that's another thing I discovered after leaving the nest is you start to realize and become grateful for all the things that you used to take for granted, right? You know, now that I have to do my own laundry, cook my own food, do my own groceries, I'm like, damn, my mom put in work, bro. I have to do this every week. You know, starting out, I was so proud of myself that I would do it once in a while.
Like at your house?
Yeah, but that, like in my own apartment.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But you know, when I first started out, I was still kind of in that college kid.
Your house was fucking dirty, right?
It was fucked up, disorganized. Never anything in the fridge, just a couple beers. And then once in a while, I will have like an urge of motivation to do grocery, clean my house, and I would be so proud. But you know, and then I realized like, fuck, you gotta do this every single week. And I feel like now that I'm, you know, acquainted with those kind of basic independent adult kind of tasks, now I'm really feeling it.
I can't wait for you guys to live with your girlfriends.
I'm not ready.
Yo, like, cause when I moved out, I moved in directly with my girlfriend, so it was.
So for you, did your girlfriend keep you in check, or did it make it harder for you to keep the
But
house?
actually, let's move to like the point before you move with your girlfriend. Like, why move out at the first place?
Oh, for me, yeah. Sorry. So, I mean, for me, it was pretty a natural process. I don't think it was. I was very comfortable at home. I liked it actually. Like, because my ex had asked me multiple times to move in with her, and I had said no because I love playing League of Legends. I love having my own space. We lived in a big house, so I was on the third floor, and it was this. I just had the whole floor for myself, and
Prince James.
my parents were always on the ground floor, so I was never disturbed. So I never had that like suffocating feeling that, oh, my parents are just like constantly down my neck. You know, I'd be gaming until 4 a.m. They're sleeping. They wouldn't bother me. So I always had that freedom and that. That was so unnecessary. Anyway, so I always had that freedom and just I would smoke
Peace of
weed in
mind.
my room. I would open the window, smoke weed in my room, smoke a cigarette. Like, I could do whatever the fuck I want. They would never come up. Luckily, because there's a lot of stairs. So, but when I moved in with my girlfriend, that's when I was like, damn, I gotta pay the rent. I gotta do groceries. I gotta cook. I have to do fucking laundry. And then that's when I was, but then it sort of kept me in check because I had all this freedom beforehand. I was like, this is the time where I have to be serious.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience.
Because, yeah, you have the same responsibilities, but it's not just you, you know.
Because you have somebody else
Yeah, somebody else.
living together. Like, thank God that you could split everything, like rent and groceries.
Yeah.
But you have to think about the other person.
You have to be considerate of
Yeah,
their
you can't
needs.
just stay out, game.
Yeah.
You can't do all those things anymore, you know?
Because for me, at the beginning, you know, all those things you said, paying the bills, groceries, cleaning the house. If I didn't do it, only I suffer. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, you know,
it keeps you accountable,
Yeah.
having somebody else.
and as a 20-something-year-old guy, my standards of living are pretty low. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't care, right?
Yeah. The bed, there's a mattress. Blankets.
You know, okay, quick tangent. I was showing my girlfriend a picture where there was a lawn chair, a TV in an empty room, and then the caption was like a guy's happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't get it. I'm like, it takes like nothing to make a guy happy.
Yeah.
You just need a mattress and a TV.
Yeah, you need a
TV.
mattress and a TV,
TV
and maybe
for
like
sure.
a mini fridge
Yeah.
Yeah. mini
to store
fridge.
your beers.
If you had an air fryer, that's a castle.
Yeah. But I think speaking of that topic is, you know, the responsibility of moving out, right? And being independent away from the responsibility of your parents. It's a very wide topic and it could get very deep because what is considered independence? A lot of people still live with their parents. I have a friend of mine who lives with his parents, with his mom.
Yeah.
But then he pays for all the groceries, the mortgage, he pays for his sister's education.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's independent, but not physically living away from his parents. But then we have people who, let's say, live away from their parents, but they have allowance money from their parents. So what is considered allowances? Oh, sorry. What is considered independence?
Yo, by the way, I moved back into my parents' house.
Yeah.
So
Get out.
Fucking traitor.
So I'm one of those where moved out early and then went back to their parents for financials and
Yeah.
more for like relationship as well. Like since I did move out so young with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
we felt like we were married. Felt a bit like suffocated. We didn't have like I lost sort of my identity. So that could be another topic another day, but. It was a huge transition, and when I told my parents that, they were like, "What the fuck?" Like they were the opposite. It's like, "Don't move out." They're like, "Why are you moving in?"
We have our dinner parties every Wednesday. Like,
Bitch,
Yeah.
we were happy before.
they were
Yeah.
sipping champagne when you left.
So I mean, it's I could go pretty deep. I don't know if I already talked about this on another episode, but it's been since June. Since June that I went back to my parents. I'm still working full time. I'm still dating my girlfriend. All is good. You know, Teddy's living with my parents now. So a lot of things that I took for granted, I have it back.
Yeah.
Like living with my parents, cooking, laundry. I don't have that. So, but in the other sense, I have more time to focus on my career, on my relationship, on my health. I've been playing more sports.
And also, you're more mature now. It's not like you're staying at home playing League, smoking.
No,
weed
that's it.
anymore,
So
right?
I have all my priorities set. It's just I need a sort of relief temporarily just to just focus on myself. But yeah, it's an opposite like situation that I'm in, and it's I kind of like it. My brother did it too, so I think that's where I got the idea. He had moved out really young, and then when he went to do his university for second bachelor's, he went back home to my parents, and then he did his master's, and that's when he actually moved out. But yeah, so it's I still feel independent. I still pay my bills. I have a car. I don't pay rent right now, but I still have all of these bills. I take care of my girlfriend. My girlfriend's actually living right next to us now, in Nuns Island. But yeah, it's tough. I think 6 years being independent was it's a tough experience.
I think James' story is a good example of if you buy a Tesla, be prepared to live back at your parents' home.
I think that's it. I think we solved the mystery there.
No. I mean, financially, it's okay. It's just it was more of a move of
Yeah.
like,
I think it's a more of the fact that you were so like all the years that I've known you,
yeah.
it was always like, hey, I want to do something. And then, oh, the girlfriend's calling me. I have to pick her up from this place. Or, okay,
Yeah, I have
let's...
a lot of responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
and
to
you
walk
had,
the dog.
like, hard stops
Yeah.
because of the dog and the girlfriend. So I think now that you moved out, do you
Yeah.
feel like you have a lot more...
I have 100% focus on what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah, because I was stretched thin. So when we used to do our RXR shoots, our marketing, 3 hours I have this time for RXR, and then the rest I have to go back home right away. I was like, "Yo, peace, guys." I had to rush.
That's why I wanted to punch Goody, because you left.
Yeah, so I was the glue definitely for that group. But now that I have my own time, I could spend time on the podcast. I could spend time on sports, health, working out, and at work. I was like, at work, my mind would be there, but I would also be 50% on the other side. At home.
Yeah, when I get home, I have to do this.
Yeah, I would work all day, and then I have to cook and clean or walk the dog. So yeah, being living alone is hard, but I would never tell anybody to not do it because you learn so much.
But also I noticed that now that you have a lot of, I wouldn't say free time.
I
but
got more time, yeah.
You time.
Yeah.
You've gotten the mojo back when it comes to creative stuff. You've been posting a lot more creative
Yeah,
stuff.
so that was the other reason why I moved out. So I want to talk about another podcast, but it's you sort of lose your identity when you live with somebody else just because you're stretched thin. You're doing other things. I can't even imagine having a kid. I already have a kid with a dog, but imagine having 2 kids, 3 kids. You're working, you're taking care of your house, you're taking care of the kids, and you just sort of lose your passion. You lose your drive. And when I was discussing this with my partner, like she was telling me one of the reasons is like, yeah, you sort of lost. When I met you, you were different than how you are now. Like you used to be like this Instagram guy. You love clothes, you love fashion. You were pursuing something, and that's why I was like, yo, I want to try to get that back.
Yeah, Mina's so great. The fact that she understands and kind of
yeah, she pushes me all the
that.
time. Yeah, she wants to have that person again. You know? Yeah.
So-
Quick pause. By the way, when I give you the sign, you don't have to repeat it. I just wanted to.
sometimes when they're
Oh no, I'll make eye contact with them. But yeah, just letting you know because we see you in the main camera. So while someone's talking, you're just like. Anyways, let's go back to
But yeah.
He's a grandpa.
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
I'm such a grandpa. Yeah.
would say in his situation that's still fully independent to me.
I think that's definitely
Yeah.
fully independent. What about you, Kev? Like, how does it feel to be like outside of a city? You don't have like you come to visit.
You got no support right
You
now.
got no support. Well, I would say maybe like moral support online.
More support. I would say your situation sounds more independent than than where I'm at. I would say. I think I'm still getting there.
I'm 6 years in, so it's different. Yeah, for sure.
I live in Toronto now, but my parents still support me, man. You know, they help out with my tickets to come visit. You know, I think they're still paying my phone bill, but that's about it. But you know, in terms of the level of responsibility, accountability I have in my life, you know, my answer to what is the definition of being independent is about responsibility and accountability, in addition to being able to make your own choices, right? Because the thing about being independent is you make your own choices, but then you have to live with all the responsibilities that come with it and any consequences that come with it.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, you have so much responsibility when it comes to Teddy, your partner. I'm still just a single dude, you know, like there's I'm independent, but the standard is very low. You know,
you come home, there's nothing to worry about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been the big focus for me over the last year. It's kind of
I think it's a good transition, and I think that's would have be the appropriate transition.
Yeah.
Because you're focusing on your career right now, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say in the last 6 months, last half a year, I've really been more proactive about kind of facing what I need to upgrade in my life. You know, can I really just waste 3 hours playing video games with my roommates every night, you know, because I'm tired from work? Or can I be using that time to, you know, work on my space or, you know, develop healthy habits, going to exercise, eating and cooking at home, you know, spending my time gaining knowledge rather than getting doom scrolling on social media and rotting my brain. So that's been my journey. The reason why I don't feel comfortable saying I'm fully independent yet is because I feel, you know, personally, I think I have a lot more to work on and improve, but I've definitely made huge progress over the last 2 years.
I think being independent, it's like, I think you're doing it, bro. Like you're in a new city. You never lived in Toronto. You're paying your own rent, and you have a job. I think that's the criteria, honestly.
I guess, technically. I guess what I'm saying is like I haven't met my standards yet.
But like compared to your college days,
or my standards are changing. That's the biggest thing, right? Because I think in the first year, the lifestyle I was living, kind of half college, half young professional.
Yeah, exactly.
I was perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
Now in my second year, I'm kind of sick of the outcomes I'm getting from that college side of living.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of, you know, every week I wake up, I look in the fridge, it's terrible. I wake up, I look in the living room, terrible. You know, so over the last 6 months, I've really been focusing on that, keeping a clean house. That's been very therapeutic. Making my bed every morning, doing my clothes. Yeah.
What about you, Danny? Why is Vivian pointing at you?
I mean, like for me, like I've been, I want to say that I've been independent for a while now.
Yeah.
But in my standards, I don't think I'm still independent. I still rely on a lot of things.
Yeah.
For people, let's say, it's not in a matter of living with my parents or paying my bills. Like I can do that all by myself. Sometimes it's always nice to have, let's say, my mom help me out and just be like, hey, I brought you some groceries, I bought you some food, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But let's say if I get to a point where someone says, yeah, so you need to start looking in for like a lawyer or a notary to take care of signing your first like house, or signing this, or taking care of business where I need an accountant to look after them. Like I have no fucking idea how to do that.
Yeah, same.
Or
Very
let's
good
say
point.
if I'm working on, I have an internet connection problem and I'm restarting everything, or I'm doing something like that, and I'm just like, I don't know why my internet sucks. So I'd call up my dad. I'm like, hey dad, and my dad's a network architect.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey dad, like my internet's wrong. Can you help me out? And he's like, have you tried restarting your modem? I'm like, dad, that's the first thing I've done.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that in my mind that I'm still not independent, But I think in general, one thing that I struggle with the most is I don't know exactly how it's called, but it's called spatial awareness, like object permanence. It's basically, if I'm not looking at it, I don't really care about it.
Like avoidance almost?
It's not avoidance. It's because avoidance is on purpose, right? So let's say if you're as a salesperson,
If you saw something and then
you go like,
purposely avoid.
nope.
Yeah. But if you're not thinking about it, you're not focusing on that aspect.
You don't need it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say for me, if I'm working and then my sister says like, hey, by the way, like it's Maya's birthday next month. I'm like, okay. And then I keep going. I keep doing my work. And then next month it shows up. It's like, hey, are you going to Maya's birthday? I'm like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that because I wasn't looking at it. I didn't write it anywhere.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So when it comes to being independent, at times I do the dishes and I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to leave it on the side. And I do work. And then I turn around. I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. And I keep working. And next thing you know, there's a pile of dish that keeps piling up because it's behind me and I don't look at it.
Gotcha.
Right. So I forget about it and I still leave like the plates on the side. And it's about taking that responsibility to be clean.
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes my brain is too focused on something else that I forget to clean.
I think that's that's the learning curve of becoming fully independent adult. I don't,
Hey man, you fucking look at it when you go to the washroom, bro. Don't.
Yeah,
you just
that
don't
was
wanna
a very
fucking do it.
slick way of not saying avoidance, but still saying avoidance.
But it's like, I think for me, it's not about like doing something on the go. It's more like where you're focused on something so much that you just, sometimes you need a break. So let's say for Kev, you're working on something, you need a smoke. But while you're doing a smoke, you're not going to be like, okay, let me like do the dishes. Let me like mop the floor. Let me like clean this. Let me do that and then get back to work. It's like, okay, let me just hop out, grab a smoke and then come back and like
I think your independence comes from making yourself self-sufficient, having your own business, being a full-time photographer. I think that's where I see your independence.
Yeah.
Because no one in this room has their own business and running multiple businesses, right?
I think career-wise, like I've started finding like independence.
Yeah.
Sometimes I always wish, I'm like, shit, I should be making more money. Like, should I sell drugs or something like that? But
you'd make a lot for sure.
Hell no.
Should we start selling drugs as a team?
Maybe.
Let's do it. That's a joke.
But I think in terms of independence, really, each one of us here have a different connotation of independence.
Yes, it's
really
very unique.
I'd like to say, James, your independence come from being separated from your partner.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'd say your independence would be separated from everyone you know,
Your city.
your city and your friends. And for me, independence would be like not relying on my dad for like monetary things.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think each and every single person in this world have a different way of expressing independence. Like no one's going to be perfect. No one's going to be like
we all have our we all have our
I don't
needs.
know anyone who's going to be fully independent unless you fuck off to butt fuck nowhere in the woods with no Wi-Fi and no like supermarket around.
Honestly, yeah, people that live in the wild,
Yeah, that's like
full
fully
on.
independence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're talking about independence from our family
Exactly.
and stuff like that. But there's independence from the system too.
Exactly.
Or even the difference between me and James and Danny, we're dependent on our salary.
Yeah.
Or, a corporation.
Yeah, we're dependent on a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Career-wise, you're independent in the sense that, you're your own boss, you're your own problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if I don't work, I don't make money.
Yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah.
If you guys don't work, you get fired.
yeah.
But you can always find another job, albeit a bit like harder, but
Yeah. I mean, we have sick days, and if you have a sick day, you still gotta work.
Exactly.
You still work when you're sick, right? Yeah.
But I think that wraps up the conversation really in
No one's
why-
perfect.
Yeah, no one's ever perfect. And for anyone who's listening to this, sometimes, it's understandable that your family situation might be hard. Your life situation might be hard. You have people around you that support you. Maybe it's not your family. Maybe it's your best friends. Maybe it's your significant other. And always take some time to think about the consequences or anything. Don't burn any bridges. You know, you can always come back to people.
Yeah. For those people out there who are, you know, in that phase where they're butting heads with their parents because they want to seek their independence, my advice is do it amicably. Do it amicably.
Do it amicably, and also be aware of your current situation. Sometimes for me, you know, when I moved out, I didn't really care about like the finance side. And then once I decided to take an apartment, I'm like, oh shit, I only thought about paying rent for the apartment, right? I didn't think about like, oh shit, I need money, I need coins for the washing machine downstairs. I didn't think about paying my own internet. And so being aware of all the situations around you helps you make a better decision about gaining your independence as a person.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say on this is one thing I also realized is my experience with independence is a very privileged one. You know, I had a very good family upbringing, everything, and that's why my biggest struggle was this independent stuff. A lot of people, you know, I've met, you know, who are doing business, who are doing sales, especially. I met a lot of kids who, you know, had to be independent very young, and you know, there's pros and cons to that too, right? So just wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh yeah, by the way, I like, based on that note, when I first moved out, my girlfriend paid all the rent.
Damn.
So I paid like the internet and the groceries and all that, but her parents had paid the rent. So you always need a little bit of help in the beginning for sure. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you're struggling with life, find yourself a sugar daddy or a sugar mama to like pay for all your bills.
Yo,
as always, my name is Danny.
James, you're a stud.
KYP
How'd
James.
you get that set up? I need that setup.
You need the jawline. That's the only way, bro. Sorry, it's not accessible.
As always, my name is Danny. I'm here with my co-host
KYP James.
KG.
And remember
To KYP.
Kill your pride, baby.